Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to cut through all the noise, all the hot stock tips, and get right to a disciplined framework for investing. We're going to look at two really different ways to build wealth. One is slow and steady, and the other, well, it's a strategy of extremes. Let's dive right in.
Okay, let's start with the big one, the most fundamental rule there is. Before you do anything, you have to really, truly accept this one simple fact. The future is a mystery. The source is super clear about this. Nobody, and I mean nobody, not the talking heads on TV, not the genius hedge fund managers, nobody has a crystal ball.
So yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? If the people who are paid big bucks to know this stuff don't actually know, who are you supposed to turn to? The argument here is that most of the people who claim they have the answers are really just selling you something or pushing their own agenda.
Look, the answer isn't to go hunting for some new guru. It's to stop listening to gurus completely. Instead, you rely on a solid, disciplined framework, a set of rules that you stick to no matter what. It keeps your emotions from wrecking your strategy. So let's get into the first part of that framework.
Okay, so before you can even act like a smart investor, you got to think like one. And that usually means, well, thinking the exact opposite of what the crowd is doing. If you want better results than the average person, you just can't act like the average person. You need to be a contrarian.
And what's so great about this is how it just lays out the two sides of the coin. You've got the herd, which runs on pure emotion. It's all FOMO, fear of missing out, so they pile in when prices are sky high. Then panic sets in, and they sell everything at the bottom. The contrarian, they operate on pure logic. They see a market crash and don't think disaster. They think discount sale. So this really boils it down to a few key ideas. When some asset is taking off like a rocket ship and it's all over the news, that's the herd's signal to buy, buy, buy. For the contrarian, that's the signal to just stay away. And on the flip side, when everyone else is freaking out and selling everything they own, that's your moment. That's when you start looking for deals on solid, maybe even boring assets that nobody's talking about.
And look, this isn't some brand new, complicated theory. The source points straight to Warren Buffett. The guy built one of the biggest fortunes in the world by being greedy when other people were scared and being scared when other people were greedy. He literally just waited for things to crash and then went shopping. So let's see how this mindset turns into an actual playbook.
Okay, so we've got the mindset. That's the why. Now let's get into the how. How do you actually put this into practice? This part is all about the specific, actionable rules you can use to build and manage your own portfolio.
Rule number one, keep it simple. Seriously. The source makes a huge point here that complexity is often just a sales pitch. It's a way for people to charge you high fees for something you don't understand. The best investments are often shockingly simple, like buying a few great, profitable, long-lasting companies and just sitting on them. It really doesn't need to be more complicated than that.
All right, here's your playbook, your game plan. First, concentrate your bets. Don't own 100 different things. Focus on, say, a maximum of 10 assets that you really believe in. Second, think in decades, not days. When you buy something, plan on holding it for at least 10 years. Third, always have some cash on the sidelines ready to deploy when those crashes happen. And this one is a biggie. Do not invest your rent money. Only invest what you can truly afford to lose. And finally, know how you're going to get out before you even get in.
You know, selling can actually be way harder than buying. So the key is to have a strategy figured out beforehand to take the emotion out of it. The source gives us 4 clear options here. You can sell when you hit a certain percentage gain or a specific price target. You could sell off little pieces as the price goes up, or, and I like this one, you can use the house money method. When your investment doubles, you sell half. That way you get your original cash back and everything else is pure profit. It's like you're playing with the house's money from that point on.
Okay, look at this number, 6. Why is this number so important? Because this is the absolute minimum number of months of living expenses you need to have saved in cash, in an emergency fund. This is not investment money. This is not buy the dip money. This is your life goes wrong money. It's your firewall. You don't touch it, ever.
All right, so just when you think you've got this whole Buffett thing down, you've got the playbook, you're ready to go, the source hits us with a total plot twist. It actually critiques this entire approach and offers up something completely different. So what's the supposed problem with the greatest investor of all time strategy? Well, the source argues that his success really came from not making huge mistakes more than it did from making brilliant moves. It's a medium risk strategy that gets you medium rewards over a very long time. The problem? You have to wait until you're old to get rich.
So what's the other option? It's something called the barbell strategy, made famous by the writer Nassim Taleb. The idea is to forget the middle ground.
You avoid all those medium risk investments because that's where you can get hit by surprises you didn't see coming. Instead, you go to the extremes. You become as safe as humanly possible on one side and as risky as possible on the other.
And here's what that actually looks like in practice. You take the vast majority of your money, let's say 90%, and you put it into something incredibly safe, like government bonds, something that's designed to survive almost any kind of catastrophe. Then you take the other 10%, and that becomes your moonshot fund. You put it into really speculative, high-risk, high-reward stuff like startups or crypto, things you fully expect might go to zero, but that could give you a 100x return.
So this really puts the two philosophies head to head. Buffett's way is all about not losing money and letting that amazing power of compounding do its work for decades. Taleb's way is about survival first, protecting that 90% at all costs while giving yourself optionality with the other 10%. That word, optionality, is everything here. It's the chance to get a massive payoff from a rare, explosive event while your maximum possible loss is capped at just that little 10% sliver.
Okay, so let's boil all of this down. What are the big takeaways here? First, just stop trying to guess the future. Focus on a disciplined process instead. Second, train your brain to be a contrarian. Remember that market fear is your best friend. Third, simplicity and patience. Those are your superpowers. And finally, you have to do some soul searching and figure out which of these strategies actually fits your personality and your tolerance for risk.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. A question that only you can answer. There's no single right way to do this. So, after seeing both of these paths laid out, which one are you? Are you the patient compounder, playing the long, steady game? Or are you the barbell strategist, protecting your core while you hunt for those massive, game-changing wins? Your answer is going to define your entire journey as an investor.